No, cover the mobile. We are for Ken TV. Medide Felix Asante. We are for Ken. We are for truth. Justice for all. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Vice President, and in his spokesperson, Gideon Boako, Aturo Muchafa Honorable Ken, who Honorable Ken Kangino, Wasanko Cha, Turo Ato, former President Kufuor, Nasania Tieni, na main chair hono, me woyem bra, Frank Adani, ewo studio ha, me konin chair na mako bisana, sani assembly city. Mr. Frank, Apomboko.
Oh, Mr. Felix, Jankopa Dom Nemon Pai Bo.
You who watch it?
Whom ya chair, my watching with studio.
Say the Gideon Boako, then or can former President Kufuor.
Minia, I'm a fancy a cassia. Emma, we are for Ken TV a for near T4. Na mensre obi biara says winya and subscribe to we are for Ken TV a wo ya but more than na subscribe mame na sanso share link no na se wo ye Kennedy Kwame Akompre kwa Japan abusunya wo ye Kennedy Kwame Akompre kwa Japan fana mese meni arehoda ma waninye
amen
na Kennedy Kwame Akompre kwa Japan nyankopon no
ogusu kasa
oye nyameti asefo kwa dua ye de bo Kennedy Akompre kwa Japan se Kennedy Japan onka no kore wo MPP mu no saa kwa dunua na nyankopon ama Yura Vice President and in the spokesperson ede ye abom na sabre ya menemo kasai Yura Vice President spokesperson Gideon Boako akotwa atrokese ede ato ex-president J.A. Kufuor so na obetwa obi ntura obetwa ntura President Kufuor na obetwa ntro ana obedi ntura ato no so na wode ye nche ho no ye bepese ahwefo ne atifo bekwa akotie ensema Gideon Boako kaaye na ye wia ya kirechiri mu na ye de omampanin dada Kufuor so nsema okaaye no ede aba na ahwefo ne atifo aye ameki judgment nti producer mesra ofa video no tum na ahwefo ne atifo so enti nsema Gideon Boako kaaye
any super report no mo de bae na Bawumia ba asante o kan se bi wo se ono de o ye duaba bi ha Yura Kufuor ene ko hu ne free kwayem ene o de ne ba fie ene o kodua ne won fichire ena sa duaba no Akufo Addo ebi gugu sunsu ena enyini ti wo kapa de a na janom wa MPP mu eje mienu eye Kufuor ena Yura Akufo Addo na adinti na Bawumia kasa o kasa esanse oso no beye Bawumia nyina ye Kufuor ne de ne wura NPP amamu 2001 Kufuor bae no na Bank of Ghana and Kufuor appointed Dr. Paul Akwa as governor and Dr. Paul Akwa appointed Bawumia as special assistant to the governor to say be an majuma me yama Bawumia and no more and Kufuor kote economic policy coordinating committee and they are Kabia Bekase economic management team so our committee na Kufuor tie no near JH Mensa ka ho Osafuma Foka ho Kojoba Redu ka ho ne mpanifo bi ka ho nipa mienu ana Yura Kufuor ede omoto sa economic policy coordinating committee no se omondwendwene omani sikasem emfa adwene mra se ne sese sikono 2001 nipa mienu na Yura Kufuor de sa adwumadi ne hye omonsa no eye President Kufuor ankasa ne doba Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei ano ye tafo mra hyebedwane ena Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia nti Kufuor and a year Bawumia co-chair of Economic Policy Coordinating Committee in 2001. Sa committee no and a trans in JH Mensa no to adwene e 2 Yura Kufuor aban efose yenko hepik and a Yura Kufuor jitum so beko hepik a bra MPP and Yura Kufuor eco hepik 2001 or the technical committee omo ya analysis for the hepik negotiation. Sa technical committee for HAPIC negotiations no Bawumia and Yura Kufuor adene to sa technical committee for HAPIC negotiations no omo call HAPIC e call kama bibia ko ye Yura Kufuor appointed Bawumia to the board of Ghana Telecom sa brand Ghana Telecom ye Ghana strategic asset Yura Kufuor ede Bawumia ko to Ghana Telecom boards and sana chikra no 2006 position bedo ho se Yura Kufuor pe deputy governor of Bank of Ghana. Yura Kufuor sa fa Bawumia the deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. And numuna Bawumia baye obey redenomination of the city. So okay, the value is the same. And about me as abaye is switch at the buy True Bank of Ghana. It's a wushemwa. Yerakofo from 2001. Emma Baumia key appointment and position best in Num and Sakrana President Akufo-Addo Ebefreno in 2008. Tibaumia say Oye Duaba Basa Duaba Kufo eni huye ena obi duae ena Akufo-Addo ebigugu sunsu nti ono Oye Akufo doba ena ono Oye Akufo-Addo doba enti sane abinum hu ne se MPP ye were two factions Akufo faction ne Akufo-Addo faction ono ba omia wo hu ne sa o hu ne se o two godfathers and two mentors Akufo and Akufo-Addo. It is a MPP force ye pe party in Kabomona internal party coalition. See a better abana you han a bewe obitima ka afani nyina bomwa o jidisa ono ba omia o sorry anopa anajo da sum no kofo boma obebie no okwa Akufo-Addo so ha obebie no obetine kofo enkora nyina ya adwuma ena obetime Akufo-Addo nkora nyina so ya adwuma tina wo hwemu a kofo enkora bibiri se na mbodi na hweremo ne nkora ne ba ediba omiachi Akufo-Addo nkora so diba omiachi nipa eduna agina no omumu bia no ha owo sa ahoden no se oboni beka so bitima best stride the threshold to both gates.
Abusianfo Mr. Felix say what?
Yes.
Na mamemma the key words.
Yes, okay.
O say you are vice president. Ghana man paninda da kofo eno kofa no. Okay. Se aduaba no kodua no wo baabi. Ena Ghana man panin president na Nana Danko Akufo-Addo. Ogu ni sunsu. Okay. So ena osanso ka say a vice president ene ne economic management team eno mutu yewura mampanin dada kofofo ma no call HIPIC. So what you say? Trouble. Correct. Eno na make say oboa. President J.A. Kufuor achirechire kwanya Ghana fa so call HIPIC e wo ne penso. Na yese se utwa atra wape kwanya to ho na wape kwanya to ho na nka mpoma no na wafamu adwane but because of senya Canada compare kwa Japan Nyankopon otwe omo asunti omo anya kwan bia anto ho nti omo nya dwanbre mesre producer say onfa video no ento so bra Ghana mampanin dada president Kufuor o kire kwanya ofa so call HIPIC okay. Na onso so fatoto ensama Gideon Boako eka no ho na uwie a na wankasa why judgment no ubegu se we for Ken TV ye ntwa tro nokre ane ye ka ye ya de a ye to ye boase ye ne ye because empanimfo tie ye empanimfo tie we for Ken TV yes nti producer fato so mame na yenko
cabinet doesn't agree with but you think through it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how true it is, but I hear on declaring HIPIC was a situation like that for you that not many got along with you on that position. Was it a lonely decision to make?
It was. It was right at the beginning of my tenure.
Yes.
2001. And we had, through the campaigning to become president, we promised a lot. We talked about going to usher in the golden age of business and the economy, what we'll do, and this and that and that. We got in there only to find very empty coffers, and not just empty coffers, but piles and piles of loans, indebtedness. The nation was practically insolvent. And a typical example was where the filling stations, petrol filling stations, were all full of long queues of vehicles. Why? Because there's no petrol to sell, to supply them. And we found that Nigeria, the main supplier of our crude for refining at Tamaoyo refinery, had blacklisted Ghana, refusing to sell to us. Why? Because we weren't paying.
Ghana was on the blacklist?
Ghana was not paying for the supplies, so they cut us off. And so we had to rush quickly to Nigeria to virtually beg the president of Nigeria and their president, Aso Rock,
When you say we had to rush,
I had to.
Or you yourself?
Myself. It was a state thing. And I needed to get my government and economy working. So I went there to plead. And at the president's Aso Rock, as they call it, the president assembled his entire cabinet, team sitting in his presidential seat.
And he asked you to address them?
And for me, not asked me to address them. They asked me, he asked for the mission of the visit, and I said, we come to plead for them to restore supplies to Ghana. The place was dead quiet. President threw the head back a bit and I listened. When I finished my plea, he said, well, our policy is not to continue supplying people who do not pay. So this is why we are not supplying Ghana. And I pleaded that mine was a new government and we needed to have a fair start. With the assurance that when they supplied, my government would do everything to try to pay. Then President shot back. Well, then you would have to give a written undertaking that when we supply, you pay. And something hit me. I sensed that the mood was softening a bit. So I said, all right, Mr. President, if that's the only thing you want, then please give me paper and pen so I write for you right here now. And when you supply me, I'll pay. So he burst out laughing and the entire room also was resonant with noise. Everybody was happy. So that when the laughing died down, and the President Obasanjo came back and said, all right. Then we'll give you 30,000 barrels of crude a day with 90 days supplies credit. You see the benefit. So if every day Tamar would be given 30,000.
So you literally had to write down an undertaking?
No, when I challenged him to give me the paper, I was prepared if he had. But that was not what he intended. He wanted a formal sort of agreement.
Okay.
But I got him saying, all right, give me paper and then I'll write for you here that when you supply me. He laughed himself out and then he said, all right, we'll give you 30,000 barrels of crude a day. And then 90 days supplies credit. That will give you credit so you refine and pay us within 90 days. That's what did the trick. And true to his word, from that time, through the 8-year period of my government, the supplies kept
constant.
Coming. So that was a typical example of, so it was very rough. And we talked of APEC. Creditors were not looking at us at all. We were not getting benefit, and the macroeconomy was right out. In fact, in shambles, if I may use the word. And there was a conference in Bamako, in Mali, within the first month or two of my government that I had been invited to, and I went with a small team. There at the conference, it was an international conference. I found that the managing director of IMF was attending. The president of the World Bank was there. The British Minister of International Development Authority was there, a lady, Claire Short. So during the conference, during a break at the conference, these three people somehow cornered me, just conversing. And I sensed straight away that they were sizing me up because I was like a new boy on the block. The World Bank president was Wolfenson, Mr. Wolfenson. The IMF managing director was Mr. Horst Kohler, German, Horst Kohler, very nice, soft-spoken man. And the lady minister from Britain was Claire Short. They were asking about the policies with which I had come to power, what we intended to do, and the economy, the difficulties. Well, I was trying to tell them my government was private sector friendly, we were democratic and so forth and so on. They didn't show much about their feelings. They didn't talk back and how they knew our situation. It took the lady, after I had rambled on a bit, to shoot back and say, look, everybody knows the state of your economy in Ghana. If you tell the truth about your economy, then you may get the help you need. But if you won't tell, then perhaps people may not also rally to your... So I looked at her a bit and I shot back. No, I said, suppose I tell the truth about my economy and I do not get the help I want, what would become of me? They laughed a bit. And then she assured me, look, if you tell the truth about your economy, and we all know the difficulties, then I give you my word, my government would come to your assistance. So is that the case? And what's the truth that I should tell? You're a HIPC. You're a highly indebted poor country. So if you would avail yourself of the IMF arrangements and work with IMF, then you may get the reliefs you want soonest. Because that year, 2001, we needed something like $250 million just to service the loans we owed. Service, or not to pay for the principal, interest payments.
The interest.
And we didn't have the money. And because we were not paying interest and loans, nobody was looking at us. I've told you of the Nigerian situation. So that registered with me. The one thing that the managing director of the IMF said then, and he too kept his word, was that, and if you take the step, I give you my word. That's, I'm trying to quote him or paraphrase him. I give you my word. We'll work with you so you get out of the bind in record time. Let's do the completion point of HIPC.
So basically they're waiting for an admission from you
That's
that
what,
this is the state we are in?
That's what, because the previous regime had put the country there. But pride didn't make it to admit that we'd come to a cross where we couldn't even service our debts, let alone pay principals. And because of that, you know the state of the economy we inherited. Inflation was over 40%, I think 42%. Inflation. If you wanted to borrow from the banks commercially, interest was as high as 50-something%. What business could any businessman do with having to pay an interest like that? The currency, the cedi against the dollar, and we trade with the dollar. You want $1 US dollar, you needed a cocoa sack of cedis, whole sack full of cedis, to go into the forex to change to get the dollar. So it was impossible for us to really make a move with all the plans we'd come to office with. In fact, to the extent that one of the ministers that had, in the previous regime, had boastfully spoken publicly that whether our government would last for even 3 months, they were waiting to see. I don't want to mention his name, but perhaps you may know. This official, it had come out publicly. So it was a huge challenge. But then I've talked of vanity, the pride in us was preventing us to own up that the economy was in a very messy state. And so these three people wanted me to consider admitting that the situation was messy and that we needed help. And so I came back to Ghana and, of course, assembled my government. Said, look, nobody wants to hear the word HIPC. So let's think out. What's the alternative to HIPC we could use so we can break loose and begin to govern? And we assembled some of the sharpest economic brains. HAPEC, oh, no. Too humiliating, we can't think. This and that, but nothing clicked. So it got to the point where I felt forced to put an ultimatum to cabinets. Look, if you are not giving me alternative to HAPEC, then I take the responsibility
And declare.
to declare HAPEC. Minister of Finance, go to Parliament, tell Parliament, President has decided.
Going HAPEC.
Go in HAPEC. And he did that. There was a bit of grumbling and uproar, but because there wasn't any alternative, really practical alternative, people kept quiet. And true to her word, the minister from Britain was first to have forgiven the 50 million pounds we needed to service our indebtedness to that country that year. And because she took that step, other creditors followed suit. And the first year, we were allowed to go free from having to find money to pay the $250 million just to pay interests.
And do you feel vindicated? Say, I knew it. Was there a sense of victory for you that almost like a personal?
I was very happy naturally, but I wasn't sort of flaunting it boastfully that we done it or we knew it. Or I felt thankful, privileged that one for attending that conference. I could have said no, I could have sent somebody to represent, but I went. And I was very happy meeting the three people. For instance, I hadn't met Claire Short ever before, the minister from Britain. That was the first time. Mr. Hoiskola, I don't think I had met before, the IMF managing director, but he proved to be such a humane, sensitive person, caring person. And then Wolfenson, the World Bank president, I think I had met him faintly before, but the three of them got together and we got into this conversation that led to their assuring me of their ready support. I felt thankful for. And then when the cancellation of payments came, so we decided whatever little thing we could do anywhere, we printed on the walls benefit of HAPEC. So people mocked us for that.
I did. I was one of them.
Oh, you were one of them. And so you've come to trick me to talk.
I was one of them. No credit, yeah.
Yes. Yes. But that really did the trick for us. And it started opening the gates. And I was fortunate. Again, a Ghanaian who had worked with the IMF for a long time, for decades, was about to retire. I didn't know him before. I don't remember ever meeting him before. But some IMF official, I think he's Iranian from Iran. The name is Abbas Miracle. And he'd been the country director for Ghana and some other countries in West Africa. Was visiting. And already our country had been fined, F-I-N-E-D, fined, for misreporting. When you don't tell the whole truth to IMF, and they fine you. And Ghana had been fined, I think, to the tune of $36 million for misreporting to that organization. And we were at our wits' end. I didn't know what to do. The then governor, again, talking of our seniors, he was a senior, and I felt he was like my young brother. He was my youngest brother's classmate. When I was from 5, they were from 1.
Okay.
Smart guy, intelligent and all, but he happened to be the governor under the previous regime, and it was during those times the misreporting had occurred. But it was my government that was being penalized to find it, and we needed to find adjustment with the central bank. So this guy from Iran came visiting Ghana, called on me. And during the conversation, he raised the point again. Look, what are you doing with your central bank? I said, what? We're trying to see how best we can work with it to restore the macroeconomy. Guy said, oh, look, there's a Ghanaian working with IMF, about to retire. And Mr. President, if you could get him to become your governor of the central bank, I tell you, your efforts would yield very positively because he's good. He knows the system and would exact the disciplines needed for you to do meet the conditionalities quickly, get out of them quickly. So I said, who is this Ghanaian? Mentioned the name. It turned out to be Dr. Paul Akwa. So I said, well, when you get back, let him come and see me. So Paul Akwa turned up, quiet in his own way, but there was an aura of solidity about him, efficiency and all that. Well, so we did the necessary shifting, and Paul Akwa became the governor. And I tell you, this guy lived up to the expectation. Practically every week he would come with some file under his armpit here, sit with me, and was like an examiner of how my government worked the fiscal and monetary policies, and didn't spare, told me the truth about the performance of government. And things worked out so well. And then the cooperation we got from IMF under Hoyskola progressed beautifully. And as I told you earlier, Mr. Hoyskola had promised that he would use his good offices to help Ghana to work her way out of the challenges in record time. But before the 2 years or so that we expected to use to finish were up, report came that Germany had virtually drafted Hoyskola to go and become president of Germany, the Republic of Germany. So I felt like, so if this man is leaving IMF, how would I finish this thing in record time? He went, but the goodwill remained, and Paul Akwa worked with the government, my government, so well that we still managed to finish the completion point, as they call it, in record time. And with that, much of the indebtedness got written off by, I believe, the multilateral creditors and even some bilateral creditors, running into over 4 billion United States dollars.
Written off.
Written off. So that was significant. And with that, now getting out of the confidence the international community had in the regime rose so high and so fast. Everything seemed to be coming together so well for Ghana. That's where the recovery came.
Nyankopon adom. Bra Felix. So you tie ye nua Gideon Boakoa. Okay. President Kofo akire mu nyina. Yes. O se omo amutu ne fo no. Omo ye miensa. 3. Baako ye World Bank president.
Yeah, president of the World Bank.
Yes. Baako so ye International Development president. Okay. And IMF boss. Sa ampanifo miensa we. Eni two ex-president Kofo Magana Eko Hepik. Ne ban sena Gideon Boako say you are vice president. Ene economic management team na omo boa president J Kufo ni 2 ni 4. Se wahunu. Se wahunu. Ye ka kire mo se atoro nye. Na nkrofo ni mpanimfo ye omudi NPP party ye nimi. Nokora de abo omotese dwonso abo akokọ. Ye ka mu ntie o. Gideon Boako wahunu wawie ye.
Faji wani so.
Na se we ye vice president spokesperson
atoronko a
vice president no se baye den
atoronko na obedie
se wo pe animenyama o obetimi de ex president Kofo din apenyam but memfa ex-president Kufudi enye niema ensem fata. So what you say?
Yes.
Na mo a mo se mo sori akene dia compare ko Japan e na enka no kore no. Mo hunu.
Yeah.
Kwadu a mo de ball kene Japan no. Mo hu se mo to adadi. Ene so se na Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo ne doba. Ene yewura vice president. Na Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo ono gugu ono vice president sunsuo amana ba beduru di aye. Enti se ene vice president say oba be pe omampani dia hwe Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Okay.
Ah?
Yes.
O hwe Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo na se amamuo no koyia.
Yeah, we dey be fa ne baba.
Ana o de be fa ne doba. Na wonim me ka kiram se nkontompo de enni hene da.
Abi.
Ene Gideon Boako na omwura afi se omo aka ne baabi se Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo ne doba na yewura vice president. Na Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo ma yewura vice president akwanya nyina. Na ebasika sem ho ntotoye e wo Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo amamwo mu a ono ne di animu. Wo kan sem wie na no na wakwa akotena platform so se wo de Ghana economy no wonka ho ya ma wo chance na Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo ne nabusuamfo na asai Ghana economy na Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo ne nabusuamfo na de taxes ya hunhia ba na Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo ne nabusuamfo na Ghana ehaw no omo akwa akofa ba na wo de wonka ho na ura free na anu asem no na anu asem na wo ti social media so o spokesperson boss amrane no se Ghana economy no sikasem no wahwe atoto ne yie ekoso na enade ba na sen this is pure deceptive ye de ye wo ha Ghana first Ghana mampani dada president Kufuor etu yefo se ono no ye MPP ni mapa obie ni wo ye MPP ni sin ex president Kufuor but o se ye kasa na se o kasa obekasa se Ghana ni na on kasa se MPP ni na yemfa party ntonchen na yenkasa se Ghana ni onuadofo a wotie me NPP communicator wotie me o ka MPP ni na ofre me no ofre me before ansa na ba be program yi so tin say ma o de come to last speaker
ho kire no
wahunu ono ankasa se ofre me se yato abawie minya bibia na me bisa ne se ense na America no de wahe na ya atro de wahe na enye nokore o se da bi de wo ka na de eye nokore na mbom yenya bibia hwewe yo hwewe na me bisa ne se otie yewura vice president na yewura vice president a ono no ba bedi akonwa no o se aban no amamuo no enye enkoyie amamuo no taxes ebu ye kon mu enti oba obetwitwa taxes no so
na so no to me can me to me criticize
no to me can me dia who am I who am I what you say
but Mr. Frank Mr. question we me consider nyama bebra me hu ni yes Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ni team they are capable of everything to win power.
Yes.
Say ya true. See ebedi obi animu as whatever it is no. They are capable of doing it. Say no be win power. I don't know any ntia omo ye ni omo ye nyina.
Yeah, because of the power said they work no.
Yeah.
And adie ba ko no say adie ba ko yura vice president so mu hu no ye say tekrema empro. And ensema waka ne dadanyina waka ne dadanyina na nke ne kwan se eni no omohye omo adwen so omonye because some of us we are very intelligent and very smart.
Okay.
Se wo kasa enne
na kasa ayira
o kasa ayira na se na e contradict ensem bia waka ne dada the moment ya wo ka ya pe ye be kai ye be kwa akopesa asem na ba na ya compare ama Ghana fo a make judgment. Na nyankopon pe omo agu omo ani ma asenti no nyankopon ama omo wura fi ensem omo ka ne dada no enti se ne omo kasa omo nim se omo aka nsem bi dada e contradict what they are saying today. Na yenso so nyankopon ama ye nyansa se ye mfa defend sa papa we a wudi na chi a nyankopon hira ma woni ema nyina ye kama papa we a wudi na chi a wadwuma nyina kwaso papa we a wudi na chi a wonni adwuma mpa obi po hu ete se de wote apem so papa we nti nokura babia nokura hinta bia Nyankopɔn ma yehu no enti me de me tu Ghana fofo especially ye nuanom amwo amanone
okay
ya na omo ye ma reho ene oh papa ba ko frɛ me I don't know say me the to last speaker na wo ha owo US anopa no anso no ni ha producer now de na wo ha o see Frank ye ni daswa sa nka me pe Ghana baba bedi mankiyam pesie eni kontomira bomu home sweet home be den na maba o see se oba Ghana na o twa tikiti asanso akọ back to US na ne yam hyehye no see Ghana ye kuro ena nka Canada compare kwa Japan da woro manti sei Canada Ghana fo ama yaka kwantuom an abrochire ni bia o tie mi bia nim sa asema me kan eye nokore sei wo a wontumi mfa ne ma wontumi nye container wontumi ntoka ma
we discover so de obedi ni nyina
we discuss ba obedi ni nyina wontumi nya hwe abrochire fons ani atutu aka omo nsam and wo pe omo boa MPP party omo yi sika de sponsor MPP party a eya abrochirefo sanso influence Ghana fo etina kan ne kwanse MPP party etoto abrochirefo ajajamu but yatimi atenase ama abrochirefo ebre abrochirefo mu su abrochirefo mo pese mo ba Ghana enya motebia ne ho motebia home sweet home anso so amamwo a enkoye nti empanimfo a monwe Ghana fo ho nti no omo suro se omo beba back to Ghana abrochirefo me de meka kire mo ne se achia nanso emu ye desina bebuo no nyina munya akukoduro na munya enkuranhye die Nyankopon de aye Canada compare kwa Japan no eso ani na esombo ya hwe nsenkyere ne niema eko said you almost sorry tia Canada compare kwa Japan omo na Nyankopon ma omo gi omo anim guase hallelujah
sempa wo ho enkonko pem no ai December 7 for the me say akasima Canada kwame compare kwa Japan be the next president me ma wabamu muda as I am speaking I still see Canada Japan is the next president as I'm speaking me I'm not a prophet but minim say sana bebre so hunu no enti a me kachira brochirifo me kachira Ghana fo a muni adwuma ye ne say munya abotre na munya nkuranhye wo Canada kwame compare kwa Japan mu na kan ke Nyankopon hu ehu okay
se nka Nyankopon ye niema bi sa nka Nyankopon ma Canada Japan hunu nipa bonefo mo wo Ghana ha because ye misa say mpanimfo a mo tete Canada Japan enka mo na nka Canada Japan ede o mo be ye adwuma because no mo kwa Canada Japan no mo frɛ ne kani ne de kani ne wa hunu se ne nyina na ye krokro de John na Nyankopon ya dom yes and Nyankopon hwe se de na Canada Japan isi aye desperate to develop Ghana so the Ghana for hia no na why say chenchina even the last person or the beboa ma Ghana tumpon na se kasa ko brafo we and e ba ba hihye ko be poison no kura kuna to na atwene eti nyame wa hunu everything that God has done in the life of Canada compare kwa Japan everything that God is doing in the life of Canada compare kwa Japan is for a purpose never and ever underestimate it never and ever say ure beho never and ever so be di areho never and ever so be su na Nyankopon say Davidi oda emura mu na ohwenwanso no akasefo a mu di dollars ne IMF money o meda V8 mu a mpanimfo nyina to adi omu achi no enye omo na nwosra no bebo omo so di ombeye nanso Nyankopon kasa
bia de beka dem
enti monhwe de asi ne exposés ahodo a yaye na fashe ohunkuran se leaders ya we mu na omo se omo ye nokwafo omo ba bedi Ghana so yi we mu na omo se yemfa Ghana japade nhye omo nsei na se Canada compare kwa Japan wo ho a hwan na ese yetwa ne ho de Ghana japade ko hye ne nsa enti mesre se Gideon Boako yesi kire ma uyonko na menkyere umsuban enti se Gideon Boako ne yonko ne spokesperson and you were vice president that means atrona de anada no mu atwache enti we de ka kum ya gine kwakuo num kwakuo no susu na esi hoyi aha enti
ono kasama no
ne
dizoba be kasem we ya ono Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia nkasa na eka
that is it
enti nkasa we the way de Gideon Buako there
sa
ana unya sa information we hisa wona wa advice former president. Those days are 2001, 23 years ago. How old were you?
Yeah.
All these things should be something else here county.
Yes.
And you know, minim nienti or person or Jen Unyam be telling a boa, and in the new yam.
Yeah.
And you also in the one yet.
Oh,
Some for the DH.
Yeah.
Mr. Frank Yamishao, so we do for a person who can
to
summarize the whole thing now.
Me dear, adia me pese me can say. So we NPP Nina Wuti, we NPP communicator. To MPP mpanimfo no fo na omonfa no correct ma odo enye adwuma
intimi develop Ghana
na so omo ye omo adwen so omo de atrosem ne na da asem e ba be se Ghana ye wi afọ kan ye be expose mu na ye expose mu asem mi ba be kume me bra be kumie na se ye chi jata ba wi abra na be chi me we ha mi ye nsuro mu o ye nsuro mu foko ye nsuro mi nsuro kapre na wo ho na enwu u twatro na wo mpo na wo twatro twa nkontompo ama Ghana fo nipa ebre no wo po so de wo se nyankopon ahwe so ama ade achew na me a me pese prepre yo ne nokore eba edadi enti se wo ye MPP communicator ka kire wo mpanimfo no se omo nwen nipa ho se de kredi akompre kwa Japan dwen nipa ho no na so mo dwen nipa ho na so mo ye niema a esefata me ya akora nyina me se me ye politician enti me ya akora na me nto aba na me follow politics enti de bra president Kufuor call Hepik no that time kra me was say president Kufuor about 2000 kwanso na me were primary now I was in the primary but yet I knew about the Hepik and Hepik there is a difference between Hepik and IMF. Hepik is better than IMF and yet I must tell you into ono so wa wo say me boa let's come and challenge Hepik is far better Hepik no condition as a kire ne say waji atum say ahia me ehia buburo ntino aha momwa me momfa meka nyina ncheme eno ano no and utie said ye ex president Kufuor ekirikiri mu na I think it's very clear so what you say nti obi ba ba je credit say ayo no nti mi hwa anyo no economy aya de ahye wonsa wuntimi nya ho hwe economy ye
Kufuor credit na beja
ajire egu eze Kufuor credit na ba ye o ba sa de esi hunahuna Ghana for economic wizard economic history economic hwan economic mizaya economic deben economic agrada economic ajaguraja economic wuntumi economic more somehow economic akwa we kura de say kum chacha economic one why and as it is and then yeah nyina za na ye nada
Mr. Frank Nyamishira wo bre
enshira won so ane
o hwe we are for Ken TV Nyamishira obi biara o hwe executive producer Mr. Abrefa Jan Mr. Frank Adani ana ye producer Eric Ansa me am tire biam Felix Asante Nyamishira obi a se na bre bia wonya time de hwe ye no eda mu nyina amase bye bye.
The foundation of every kid's education is important to every parent. That is why Leap International School is here to give your kids a solid foundation. The school that cares about its environment and seeks to transform it is one that cares about the education and well-being of its kids. The school has a playing ground, a bus to convey the kids in and out of school, as well as a well-furnished facilities and resources to groom the kids to future leaders. Not forgetting the well-learned teachers that are patient with the kids to ensure understanding is easy. They are located at Amanfrom off the Pokwasi Amasaman Road. For more information, call 0246 928 031 or 0246 098 067. Be part of a school that leads, learns, evolves, acts, and develops through sound education. Leap International School, the next leaders.
School now battle beyond the Baruko Hononinyo or your Rainbow Montessori International School. Yeah. Rainbow Montessori International School. What you from Kratchi? You could see JHS. The Rainbow Montessori International School from Anna. What been wrong? What's the what the Montessori curriculum in a syllabus? No what the children are the teachers all honor. When you know why a degree holders what the Abutana Badoyan what the trauma from Anadio. Now Rainbow Montessori International School. Wakitaba Funyoman what the trauma from Anate. It's your mama from Anu not doing boy wrong. Wakita Ultra Modern Science Laboratory, Computer Laboratory, Library and Research Center, Art and Sculpture Laboratory, Hygienic Canteen, Nafe Clinic. Namoye Nika 1 point there. Rainbow Montessori International School. Oya boarding house. Inyo. Into Onfahu baby Awobiara. Wawo from Batuma School. Onfahu there Watakwa, Takrade, Elibo, Cape Coast, Accra, Kumasi. One boarding house facilities now. Oya modern standard. Now wash for papa. It's your house master and house mistress. What you want to a boarding house no? It's your new Robiara. Bambo another security in the sure. It's if we from Benebra. The Ebehu Rainbow Montessori International School. It was Takwa in Soyem, opposite police station. It is said Obaba Rainbow Montessori International School. To what you nada? Was an Wabat Shana the Papa. Emanazamsina. What channel 111. It's a quad mission form. It was Hantaman Rabank. What Takwa Soyem branch. Frayene 0277 100 823. Rainbow Montessori International School. In Moframa Wanda China 1 Fapim. Oshasuaha. It's a Hana Bartan Biara. Ordinary from a river.